I'd like you to come on a little journey with me through my life, my evolution of psychology, if you will. When I was little, I thought that names were very important. When I was a child, I thought if something is named a thing, it must be that thing. And if the name sounds like something, it must be like that something, mushrooms and marshmallows sound similar, so they must be kind of the same thing, right? That sort of thing. This proved to not be true. As I discovered very rudely that marketing is a thing, and things are not always named accurate to what they are. So then I get into my teenage years, young adult years, and I sort of dismiss naming entirely. Names are fully unimportant because names can be anything. They're meaningless. It's all just marketing stuff, and it doesn't matter. Always look at what it actually is. Don't care about the name at all. And as a result, and I'm kind of glad that I went through that phase, because it I believe kind of inured me against the allure of labels. I don't really go for, even now, I don't really go for labels that much. I don't ascribe a lot of value to them. And it has made me, sort of insulated against a lot of marketing. Marketing doesn't really do much for me. But then more recently, I sort of, so I start off way this way, like, oh, names are everything. Names are truth. And then I go the other way, names are completely worthless. They're fully meaningless. And now I'm starting to recorrect this way, maybe like a third of the way back. Because I'm starting to realize that when it comes to game design, names are important. The names of things inform the players of the kinds of things that the designer expects. They are a channel of communication beyond just the rules text. They tell the player what the designer had in mind for whatever this thing is, whether it is a rule, a mechanic, an ability, an option of some sort. The name matters. Which is sort of part of the reason why I and many others believe that in D&D, the fighter is a terribly named class. It shouldn't be the fighter anymore. There's no reason for the fighter to exist, because what does it do? It just fights. That's it. And that is an extremely flat character concept. It's not evocative, and it's not versatile. It really traps you into doing one specific thing, fighting. Which you could make the argument is what even is fighting? How well defined even is that in a game like D&D? But that's a whole other argument. And it has come to my attention more recently, within the past few months, particularly as the 2024 books for D&D 5e release, that names do matter, and they are an indicator of what the designers have in mind. Let me give you some examples. There's a new mechanic for martial classes called Weapon Mastery. Each weapon has a particular mastery type associated with it, and if you have a weapon, if you have the mastery ability for that weapon, you can use that mastery ability and get some additional effect. And these are things like, knock someone down, push them, get an extra attack, do some damage on a miss, that sort of thing. Real minor stuff. Basically cantrip effects for martials. But there's only a handful of them, and you have to lock them in by weapon, not just any weapon with this mastery ability I can use. No, it has to be you choose specific weapons, which is kind of dumb. It's very backwards in the way it's designed. But I was sort of thinking about how mastery abilities are all named super simple names, very unevocative names, to the point that I cannot remember. There's two of them that I cannot remember what they do because the names are synonyms of each other, so I can never remember which one is which, because they mean the same thing, Graze and Nick. So it's Graze, Nick, Vex, Topple. I think one of them is Push. Is there any others that I'm forgetting? These kinds of, there's like single word, like verbs, you know. And that's not very interesting. It's not very interesting as a name. It kind of gets the point across. Like there is certainly some logic to why they are named the things that they are. They do somewhat inform you of what the ability does, but it's not like cool or in any way exciting. There's no excitement there, you know, like when you think about some spells like what is it? Armor of Agathis? The Armor of Agathis. That's got some punch to it, like literally. Like that is a thing that your character might say, I summon the Armor of Agathis. That kind of thing. Whereas I'm gonna nick. Those are very different tones, you know. And if you look at other games don't do the mastery thing either. They go kind of in the direction of let's name our stuff cool things so that the players have like a sort of creative hook to assign, like, what is this ability? How is it supposed to manifest? What are the mechanics representing? Things like the 4th edition, like freaking nearly every power in 4th edition is like this. Like they have powers, like the names of the powers really paint you a picture of what's going on. So just coming to mind, the 1st level monk abilities, things like 5 storms, open the gates of battle, those kinds of things, like those are so cool. And they inform you, like, I think it's an indicator of like how much respect the designers have for these particular designs, you know? Like clearly the designers of 4th edition enjoyed what they were doing. They loved the content that they were creating. They had a heart for the characters the character concepts that they were designing. And so they put a lot of that love into the names of abilities. And I think the designers of 5th edition don't have that kind of love for their content because it's not showing in the creative aspects. Like these were prime opportunities to make a bunch of abilities with cool evocative names, and they don't. And as a result, I think that the flavor of weapon mastery falls flat. But even beyond that, a lot of 5th edition is like this, you know. How cool is extra attack? Extra attack is a very flat sounding feature. Like, so if you like start going through these class features, you know, arcane recovery is such a much cooler name than extra attack. It's like, I get sometimes the need for brevity, but also like, let's put some flair into these, right? Like, as a designer, I would be greatly dissatisfied at the state of names in 5th edition. I think a lot of work could go into revamping the names of things to give a greater indication of like how cool the thing is. But like changing the name doesn't change the mechanics, and a lot of the mechanics are themselves kind of lame. So I'm not saying that changing the name would make the game better, but I'm saying that if the game was better, you would have better names. Names are an indicator. They don't make the game better themselves, but a good naming convention for abilities, for character archetypes, etc. If the names are cool, the names are evocative, there's a really good chance that the mechanics are also going to be cool and evocative. You know, just look at Lancer. Freaking anything from Lancer is gonna be as cool as it says on the tin, right? You know, and then like even Legend of the Five Rings, like every technique has like this cool, like almost poetic name to it. You know, Crimson Leaves Strike, you know, Earth Becomes Sky, those kinds of things. These the technique names are just really evocative of what they are doing. And not as a result. See, that's the hard thing. It's not as a result of having a good name, but the good name tells me as a consumer what I'm getting into. And am I getting into something that is really evocative, really exciting, really like poetic, well thought out, Or is it Vex, Grays? There's a world of difference between those two. So that's just my thoughts on like names. I'm starting to realize that names have a purpose, and they're useful. They're not everything. They're not truth, but they're not nothing either. I'm starting to realize that.